The stasis pods hummed softly as they powered on one by one. Their once dormant occupants stirred, their long-forgotten bodies slowly coming to life after millennia of frozen silence. The gods had returned. But the world they once ruled was no longer theirs to claim. Arathak, the eldest of the alien gods, opened his eyes. The pale blue glow of the chamber bathed his ancient face as he rose from his pod, stretching limbs that had not moved in over 1,000 years. His senses, dulled by the deep sleep, flared back to life, absorbing the alien atmosphere around him. His mind went to work immediately. He was the leader of his kind, and if there was one thing he knew, it was the thirst for power. "The war is over," he muttered under his breath. His voice now felt strange in the stillness of the chamber. His eyes flicked to the holographic display that flickered on in front of him. It was a report, something his people had always left behind to track the galaxy's movements while they slumbered. The text flickered, distorted from the time they had been in stasis. Humans were alive, the humans had survived, and worse, they were thriving. Arathak's jaw clenched. His mind raced as he processed the information in front of him. Humanity, thought extinct and enslaved for centuries, was not only alive, but had expanded across the galaxy. They were spread over multiple star systems, building civilizations, and creating technologies that defied comprehension. "They should not be," Arathak whispered, his words laced with disbelief. His people had exterminated them, or so they had thought. Arathak looked around, his ancient mind still processing the unimaginable. The gods had not known the full scope of humanity's survival. The last battle, centuries ago, had been their undoing. Their enemies, the humans, had been nothing more than pests, subjugated and broken. But now, those pests had become something far more dangerous. He raised a hand, activating the communication relay to the rest of his people. His voice rang through the chambers. "The humans live. They do not know we are awake. We must observe them. Prepare yourselves." The message was clear. The gods would return. But they had no idea just how much the tables had turned. Across the galaxy, in the heart of humanity's most powerful fleet, Captain Jonathan Drake stood at the helm of the Peregrine, the flagship of Earth's defenses. He was a seasoned officer, with a reputation forged in countless campaigns against the alien forces that had once sought to destroy humanity. The bridge of the Peregrine was alive with activity. Crew members moved swiftly between stations. Drake stood by the viewport, staring into the vast, empty space beyond. His mind raced, processing everything he had just learned from the command center. The alien gods had awoken. Drake's grip tightened around the edge of the metal railing. For years, humanity had believed that the alien threat had been eradicated, that the gods who had once enslaved them had been destroyed in the final conflict. But now it seemed the battle had only just begun. He turned to his communications officer. "Any word from command?" The officer, a young man named Harris, glanced up at Drake with a furrowed brow. "No, sir. The last transmission came through an hour ago. The gods are awake, but we're not sure of their numbers or location. We've been ordered to prepare for a response." "Prepare for war," Drake muttered. The words felt familiar, but the weight of them was heavier than ever before. The gods were not just enemies. They were gods. The last time humanity faced them, it had been an all-out struggle for survival. This time, however, humanity was not the underdog. Drake's eyes narrowed as the thought settled in. The humans had something the gods could not understand, something they had never been prepared for. Humanity's ability to survive, to adapt. He turned back to the viewport, watching as the stars blinked in the distance. He had seen the history of the gods, their rise, their fall, and their self-imposed exile after the war. But there was one thing they never counted on: humanity's resilience. And they were about to find out that humans didn't just survive, they fought, and they won. Back on the ancient world, the gods were organizing. Arathak, now standing before a massive console that displayed a map of the galaxy, took in the vastness of what his people had once ruled. The stars had been theirs to command, but now they were scattered. The humans had spread far and wide, becoming an unexpected force in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" Arathak asked. "We crushed them. We burned their world." The advisor, a younger god named Arathak, bowed his head before responding. It appears they were more resourceful than we anticipated. Their survival was not by chance. They have weaponized their biology, created new technologies, things we could never have predicted. Arathak's hands clenched into fists. We will not be undone by these insects. Prepare the fleets. We take back what is ours. Arathak hesitated. The humans are not what they once were. We underestimated them, Arathak. Their weapons. We may not be ready for them. Arathak shot him a look, his eyes flashing with authority. I am the god of war. I do not need to be ready. They will bend to us. As he turned to leave the chamber, the thought echoed in his mind. The humans had survived, but they would not survive him. On Earth, Drake was making his own preparations. The news of the gods' return was not something to be taken lightly, but humanity had learned a lot since the last conflict. They were no longer the underdogs, scraping for survival. They had learned from the past. They had prepared for this moment. Drake stood before a large holographic map, his fingers tracing the glowing lines of strategic points across the galaxy. The military network was already in full swing, responding to the alien threat. Humanity had already developed technologies that surpassed the gods in ways they could not have anticipated. Sir, Harris called out, breaking Drake's concentration. The first wave of the gods' fleet is approaching. They've launched from an uncharted system. Drake's expression hardened. The time had come. Activate the fleet. We don't wait for them to get any closer. He turned to his tactical officer. I want everything ready. This will be their first and last mistake. As the fleet readied for battle, Drake couldn't help but think back to the time when humanity had been broken. The gods had thought them weak. They had believed humanity would fall to their might. But they were wrong. And now, the gods would learn that humans didn't just survive. They thrived. Drake stepped onto the bridge's command deck. We will meet them head-on. This galaxy is ours now. The Peregrine moved into position, its engines roaring to life as it surged forward. The battle for the galaxy had begun. And this time, humanity would not be the prey. As the human fleet surged into the heart of space, the gods' fleets closed in from the other side. The standoff was inevitable, and the battle would decide the future of the galaxy. On one side, the alien gods, ancient and proud. On the other, humanity, fierce, inventive, and unstoppable. The stars above were about to burn with the fire of war. The stars above Earth flickered with the light of distant battles, the vastness of the galaxy now a stage for the ancient conflict that was about to reignite. Captain Jonathan Drake stood at the heart of the Peregrine's command deck, the warship's advanced systems humming around him. The moment was upon them, humanity's first strike against the gods who had once thought they could crush them. On the other side of the galaxy, the alien gods, once masters of everything, were preparing their response. Arathak, along with his generals, stood within the command center of their flagship, Vordak, a massive vessel forged from metals older than time itself. His eyes narrowed as he watched the human fleet's movements on the tactical display. It was an impressive sight. Advanced ships, each a beacon of humanity's innovation. But impressive didn't mean invincible. Do they really think they can face us? Arathak said. Arathak. His advisor, Arathak, stood by his side, studying the map. We've observed their tactics. They fight good, but they are still humans, Arathak. No match for us. Arathak grinned, his sharp teeth gleaming in the dim light. No match indeed. Prepare the fleets. This will be their last lesson. Back on Earth, Drake's voice echoed over the intercom. All ships, engage at will. We will show them who we are. The Peregrine surged forward, cutting through the dark void. Around it, the fleet of humanity's most advanced warships followed. Each ship was a symbol of humanity's strength, a force to be reckoned with, no longer the prey, but the hunter. Drake gripped the railing, his jaw clenched as he stared out into the abyss. The first wave of alien ships came into view. The gods' fleet was massive, a terrifying array of warships, their dark shapes looming like ancient monsters in the sky. There was no fear in Drake's eyes. Soldier who had fought too many battles to be intimidated by the past. This is it, Drake muttered to himself. Time to remind them of who we are. The first salvo of weapons from the alien fleet exploded into the night, a barrage of energy weapons that tore through space. The Peregrine's shields flared to life, absorbing the brunt of the attack as it continued forward, undeterred. A series of smaller ships broke off from the main fleet, charging toward the alien vessels. "Bring them in close," Drake ordered. "We'll engage in a knife fight." The tactical officer, Lieutenant Thompson, nodded. "Aye, Captain." They won't know what hit them. The human ships split into squads, their energy weapons coming to life as they closed the distance. The gods' ships retaliated, but the humans were faster, their ships darting in and out of the line of fire, taking advantage of every opening in the enemy's defense. The Peregrine fired its main guns, sending a devastating wave of plasma through the heart of the enemy formation. Explosions lit up the void, alien ships breaking apart in fiery displays. Drake watched with cold satisfaction as the first of the gods' vessels was torn to pieces, but Arathak, the ancient god of war, was not so easily defeated. On the flagship Vordak, Arathak watched the battle unfold on the holographic display. The humans were fierce, yes, but they were predictable. He could see it in their maneuvers. They lacked the ancient discipline of the gods. They fought with passion, but it was the passion of children. It was a fire that burned brightly, but lacked the cold efficiency of true power. Arathak's fingers danced over the controls, sending commands to his fleet. The first wave of human ships would be destroyed. It was just a matter of time. The gods' fleets shifted, locking into new formations, preparing for the second wave of attacks. A new strategy was necessary, one that would crush humanity's resistance. Arathak looked up at Arathak, uncertainty flashing across his face. "Arathak, the humans are not like any species we've fought before. They are adapting. Their tactics," Arathak cut him off. "Let them adapt. They will learn what happens when they challenge gods." He turned back to the command console. With a flick of his wrist, he activated the secondary weapon systems, preparing for the next strike. Back in the chaos of battle, Drake gritted his teeth as he watched the human fleet continue to take hits. The alien ships were overwhelming in numbers and firepower, and for a moment, it seemed like humanity might be pushed back. But Drake wasn't one to back down.